All right, so we are joined now by January. January, if you could just kick us off with your first name, where you live, and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is January, and I live in the Austin, Texas area, and I am a vice president of people and culture.
Woohoo! In the HR space, fellow HR person in the
Yes.
house. Well, so glad to have you, and we'll talk about your brand new role in just a minute. But I'm curious if you could help set the stage just by talking about where you were in your career search when you happened upon Career Amp. So, like, what was kind of going on in your career? What made you think that you needed some help? How long were you looking, et cetera?
For me, I just felt stuck. There was a lot of things going on. The job market was in a weird space. The organization I was working at the time, I realized it was just not a good fit for me. I wasn't very happy. And I had an inkling that they were probably going to eliminate the role, which is what they eventually ended up doing. So I kind of saw the writing on the wall and just started to put feelers out there. But I quickly realized like the traditional quote unquote things that I was doing, like, just applying to roles and hoping to hear back, it was not working. Like I was getting no feedback. I mean, it was just like crickets, which is to be expected on some levels, but usually before I would at least, get some feedback, hear back, get invited for phone screens, interviews. And then the, one or two times that I did um hear back and get an interview, I just got stuck at like, the interview phase and just never heard back. There's just a lot of ghosting going on. So I just, okay, well, it must be me. I must be doing something wrong. And I had thought about using a career coach in the past, but just never took the time to commit to it. Um, but I'm in a different space because I'm about to be an empty nester. And I was just like, hey, it's time to really invest in myself versus, pour myself into other people. So I just said, why not, and I was looking and then I came across your profile, I believe it was on Instagram. Like I was looking like late at night one night. And I was just really intrigued by what you were saying. And I just, took the time to do a little bit more research into you and, what you offer, your services. And I was like, yes, this is exactly what I need. And I just took that leap of faith to invest in myself. So
That's great. And thank you for walking through your history. And I know it was daunting, like thinking that your role is going to get eliminated, but unhappy, and then it being eliminated, and then kind of being thrust into, okay, I got to like put this into hyperspeed.
yeah.
But you had done all of the work leading up to that layoff. So I think it probably made, maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe it made you less scared because you had already had a plan and you were executing on it. But curious if that resonates with you.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I knew at some point, this is the direction it's going in, but I was so caught trying to beat it to the punch. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I was in a space to where if I needed to take a break in my career, I could do that financially. I had, was not in a place where I had to have employment right away. So that worked out in my favor. So honestly, when I laid off, I mean, my first feeling, it was relief. It was not fear, it was not anger, it was not how dare they made a mistake. I was like, no, they made the right decision. It just gave me the push I needed to get me to that next step.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. Okay, so you hopped. I remember our call when you were thinking about joining, and you hopped in right away, which I was so excited about. And then you got to work. What was maybe like the first aha moment or like win that you experienced in Career Amp?
Honestly, taking that deep dive and learning more about myself and what it is I truly wanted. Because it's one thing to say, oh, I want to work in HR. Well, what does that mean? So, going through your program, it really forced me, and I won't say forced, not the right word, it really gave me the push that I needed to take that deep dive to ask myself what it is that I truly want to do working in HR that is going to make me happy. Because I think I shared with you, like in our earlier conversations, that there were several times that I wanted to walk away from HR. I was very frustrated. I wasn't fulfilled. And you said it to me, it's not that you can't be, it's just deciding what it is that you want to do within HR, because that makes all the difference. And that was the absolute truth. So for me, it was recognizing that, although, and I had to realize this like midway through the program, I was really pushing to, go into new industries or go into industries where I feel like I was going to make the most money. But for me, it was like, where was I most fulfilled when I was working in HR, and where was I most happiest? And it was when I was working, for organizations that are making social impact in the world, like not that nonprofit space. And it just, once I realized that, honestly, everything, I went back in and just kind of, reevaluated, how I'm crafting my soul stories and the roles that I'm looking for, and everything just really lined up. And I interviewed for, I think, 3 nonprofit roles. And then this one, it just kind of fell into place. And it's been about a month since I started, but it's just been great so far. I've been able to just really dive in, connect with the team, and really, have that seat at the executive table. And they are, really trusting and respecting any initiative that I have brought forth so far. So that's really refreshing. And, it's an organization that I feel the work is really close to my heart, and it's, working with children. So, I mean, for me, it's been a win-win.
So I just got chills hearing you say that.
Yeah.
That's so cool, January. And I remember that coaching call very fondly because I remember we put together your good options rubric, and one of the highest things on that list was that you were going to have a seat at the table
Mhm.
to help make decisions and drive things. So the fact that that's coming to fruition now for you is just music to my ears. What was your favorite part of Career Amp? Where did you kind of extract the most value?
I would say my favorite part was connecting, like the coaching calls, connecting with other people who were in, the same position that I was, to kind of reinforce to me that I wasn't alone in the process. And then just really honestly taking the time to do the work in terms of, again, crafting my soul stories, getting out of my comfort zone, honestly, because I mean, it's kind of, I'm a walking contradiction that although I work in HR, I'm very introverted at heart. So
Mm,
really getting out of my comfort zone and making those connections. And I really did along the way. I made a lot of great connections in, the networking part of it. And really got some great advice. But which honestly led me to, the organization that I'm working at now. So for that, I always be grateful because, I still have, some of my connections during this process. Like they still check on me. Like, we're still communicating like, hey, how are you? How are you doing? So awesome that you landed a role and you could do it. So I feel like for me that out of everything that's I'm most grateful for and what I really love is the connections I made along the way.
that's amazing. All right, last question here, which is if you were talking to somebody or someone's watching this that's on the fence about joining Career Amp, what would you tell them and why?
I would say do it. I mean, I know for some people cost might be a factor. I mean, at first it was for me, that was a barrier for me, but I mean, what you get in the long run, it more than pays for itself. I mean, it's always at some point to really, take the time to invest in yourself, to do the work, to get where you need to be. Particularly now where we are, just not just in the professional realm with, with everything else going on right now. I would just say do it. Like if I can do it, anybody can do it. Because I was like my biggest critic and still am my biggest critic. Like,
Mm,
I always was second guessing myself, like, you know, it's not gonna be worth it. I have too many other things going on right now. But I just stopping and taking the time to reflect like what it is that you truly need in the moment that's going to make you happy and what tools and resources do you need and I have to get there. That was the approach I looked at it, and then it just made sense.
amazing, January. And you got a
Yes.
VP role.
Yes.
Your first VP role, if I
Yes,
said
it
that
is.
correctly, right? Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
Amazing, January. I'm so thrilled for you. Congratulations. Thanks again for spending time with me today.